Hello everyone, this is Zhang. I'm PhD graduate from RMIT University. Today my presentation topic is if emergency remote online learning becomes the norm in education, how can we utilize the advantages of online teaching as well as dealing with its challenges effectively? Before I proceed, I would like to briefly introduce myself. Um, I work as a Chinese language teacher while I was doing my PhD. So during this time, basically my workplace is also my research field work. In 2020 and 2021, in Melbourne, we had experienced six lockdowns. There were three major lockdowns over these 2 years. So I collect all this data in regards to students' online participation rates in the Chinese language program in term 2 and term 3 in 2020 and term 3 this year. And then I compared this data collected on term 3 in both 2020 and 2021. Now I'm going to briefly introduce the school I'm working with. This is a local primary school located in the southeast of Melbourne. So there were around 950 students enrolled in 2020 and 2021. Currently, there are two Chinese language teachers working in this school. So I have been responsible to teach students from foundation to year 3. So this reflected in the data collected in these 2 years. In 2020, the data are presented in this presentation from basically across all the grades from foundation to year 6. But in 2021, I only have data from foundation to year 3. This is the data I collected during the first lockdown in term 2, 2020. As you can see from this chart, on the first term, there was no data provided because during that time, all teachers, including me, we were preparing our students to get familiar with the online platform so that they can well prepared before they started to get online doing their work in week 2. So over the 6 weeks lockdown, the work provided online, the participation rate were relatively quite low. With a low, like you can see, with the foundation students, we only have a 24% of children get online doing their Chinese work. The impressive percentage was fell on year 3. 73% of students get online doing their Chinese work. Overall, our impression is the older children are, the better they are able to engage online. But ironically, we can see from here, year 4 was quite low. Only 33% will get online, with the year 5 and 6 reasonably half of the class students will get online doing their Chinese work. During the second lockdown in 2020, in term 3, we experienced 10 weeks lockdown. This was the data collected during that time. There was a big change compared to like term 2. We can see from this data. I compared the data from term 2 and term 3 in 2020. So this is a result. We can see from foundation to year 4, there was a big increase in their overall participation in their Chinese learning. The most impressive increase is happened in foundation, with the students participating from 24% increase to 54%. We can also see there's a big increase with the year 4 students' participation rate. It's interesting to notice that year 5 and year 6 both decreased in their online Chinese learning. By looking at this chart, we might wonder what happened between these, what happened behind these data, what happened with these students, what happened with their parents, online engagement or supporting their children to do their work, what happened with teachers' adjustment. These promoted me to do further investigation on the online remote learning. In 2021, we experienced a few lockdowns, but the major one is happened in term 3, similar to term 3 in 2020. This time we had a 9 weeks lockdown. I collected all this data and made a comparison between 2021 and 2020 students' participation rate in their online Chinese learning. When you look at the table, all the highlighted numbers are were from 2021. Then there's a big contrast between 2020 and 2021 students' participation rates. Both terms we collected 9 weeks data, but you can see from here, from the data I've put it here, from foundation to year 3, all the numbers, the participation rates decreased significantly. This made us wonder what happened with this decrease. If students experienced a 1-year lockdown, they are supposed to be familiar with online teaching. How come this number decreased? What happened with students, parents, and teachers' way of teaching and learning? All these questions and data encouraged me to do a further investigation. So in 2021, during the 6th lockdown time, I had an online telephone interview with 63 families. There were 45 parents responded to my online parents-teacher interview. So as you can see from this chart, how I conducted with my research. Among these 63 families I interviewed online or face-to-face during the lockdown time in 2021, 37 families were actively engaged in online Chinese learning. 18 families they interact with the teachers online intermittently. There were 8 families, basically there were no access to online Chinese learning. My teacher colleague and I, we all were puzzled by the low participation rates during the lockdown time. So we had a discussion about the factors affect students' online participation rates with their specialist learning. Overall, there were these 9 issues related with this low participation rates. Based on the data collected, interviews with parents, and meetings with my colleagues, I summarized these into a few challenges. The first one is the physical challenges. Here's some examples. First, extended online time, increased eye problems, back and shoulder problems related to sitting for too long or lack of enough exercise, physically isolated with no friends to play with, or increased body weight because of binge eating and oversleeping. So, and also we have some teachers or students, they experience fatigue during this lockdown time. The second challenge during the online remote learning is the technological challenges, which in fact are closely related with families' social economical backgrounds. We found out this is not just happened with the students. I should say this also including teachers and parents. We all have insufficient technology knowledge and skills. All teachers and parents or students seems need to update skills in using certain platforms. There are other factors also involved with these technological challenges. For example, some families have no or not enough devices or equipment. They have a very bad internet connections or lack of enough support from financial support from the government or the communities. The emotional and psychological challenges are obvious during the remote learning. First, stress and anxiety from the challenges on one's work ethics, professionalism, responsibilities, experiences, interpersonal skills within teamwork. Working at home, teachers and students both feel isolated, tired, and emotionally draining with no or less support professionally and technologically. Anxiety and stress from imbalanced lifestyle pressures from overloaded online schoolworks. Insufficient technological knowledge also contribute to students' stress and anxieties, feeling loneliness, social skills decreased, while mental problems increased a lot during the lockdown. During the online remote learning, the teacher's coping strategy can be summarized as the following. First, we tend to provide short, easy, engaging tasks related to students' real-life situation. Online teaching becomes knowledge-based delivery. Teachers tend to prioritize engaging students to do online work rather than paying attention to the quality of students' work. Teachers also lower our expectations on students' online learning outcome. Meanwhile, we prioritize emotional support in our daily online teacher-students interactions. Compared to the past, we have a more collaborative teamwork among teachers, students, and parents or caregivers in planning or online teaching. Hopes and challenges, advantages and disadvantages are all mixed together during the online remote learning. As an educator, I experience a lot of significant changes during the online remote learning. I witnessed some students, they were flourished during the online remote learning. For example, students who has ADHD, autism, or selective mute syndrome, or intellectual disabilities. For those students, it seems online remote learning worked beautifully for them. But at the same time, we also can see the majority of students were disadvantaged because of a lack of support from technologically or emotionally or educationally. So for our educators, this is the things we have to reflect on. How can we incorporate the advantage of online remote learning in our current teaching routine? at the same time to overcome the disadvantage part of online remote learning. In conclusion, in reimagining the digitalization in education, it is important for our educators to have better understanding the complexities of emergency online remote teaching and learning, so that we can better utilize the advantages of technology in future education. Thank you for your participation. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to contact me through email. Goodbye.